Hey, everybody, good evening. Welcome to episode 33 of the Giant Zone, where tonight you've got just the two of us. You got co-host Steve the Banker.
What's going on, everybody?
And then you have yours truly, of course, Fly Guy Carl. Tonight we're going to pretty much spend most of the show kind of breaking down last night's tough loss and just kind of highlighting some of the different things that we saw, concerns, what went wrong, what are some positives. And then if we have time at the end of the show, we'll just quickly talk about this week's upcoming game versus Chicago. And of course, before we get going, guys, again, I just want to remind you that if you already haven't, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you download our show, please give us a 5-star rating. It's just going to help us to continue to bring you good content, hopefully that you're enjoying so far. So with that, Steve, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. It's much better having had a night to sleep, you know?
Yeah.
How about you?
We don't do these right after the show, right? Last night would have been
Yeah. It would be a lot more toxic, right?
Yeah. No voice and some foul language.
Yeah.
Definitely would not be suitable for children.
100%.
But
how are you feeling?
What's that?
How are you feeling about the Giants? And it's been a day, so tempers calm down, reason sets in. How are you feeling?
What I kind of went back to early this morning was that 2-0 felt great. But I just I went, hey, we're still in year one of a rebuild. It's only week 3, year one of a rebuild. And I predicted 7-10. And I'm the one that's been saying all off season, this is not the year for wins. I was drinking the 2-0 Kool-Aid just like almost everybody else was. And there's going to be a lot of games like this. I suspect we're going to see a couple 2-3 game losing streaks. And okay, it's year one of a rebuild. But I'm in it for the long haul. I still believe in these coaches and our front office that we've got the people in place that can get us to the promised land. We've just got to give them time.
That's right.
What about you?
What I was thinking of this morning, and one of the things I've been thinking about all day today is how much fun we've had during that home stretch of the preseason and all of our shows. For everybody listening and watching, hopefully they've seen some of the shows towards the back end of some of our shows. We kind of became a tradition where we did predictions for the season, one loss, right? And my prediction was the Giants were going to be 1-2 at this point. That I said leading up to that first game that we were going to lose to Tennessee, but and you reminded me, I kept saying, I really think we might beat Tennessee. And you reminded me, Steven, you predicted a loss. I'm like, that you're right. And then I predicted we beat Carolina, and I predicted almost every single guest predicted we beat Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, we're going to lose to Dallas, but then we're going to kick their butt in Dallas when we go down there. We're going to shove a turkey, where. And everyone's like, yeah. So look, we're 2-0, and fan is short for fanatic, everybody. If you don't remember that the reality is fan is short for fanatic. It means you're not rational. You're not supposed to be. We're fans. And you know what? It was a winnable game. Dak wasn't playing. It was, as I call him, Pooper Rush, so by all accounts, he's actually a very good guy. And he was on the Giants not so long ago as a 4th stringer. But Dallas's offensive line was in tatters. And, we'll talk about all that. But it was like, man, we can win this. We could be a 3-0. And as a fan, your mind starts going like, oh, my God, right? But I predicted we were going to lose this game. And I said to myself, and we'll get to next week, but if someone had told me that we were going to be 2-1 with a chance to go 3-1 in the first 4 games, and we did, we used to talk about that in the preseason. And
sure.
So at the end of some of our episodes, we started dreaming as fans, right? Like, wow. And if you had told me that our wide receiver room would be what it is, and the quality and the output of some of our skill players has been so, yet we would have a chance to have the record that we have and that we could be, I mean, as fans, wouldn't we take that all day? That's ahead of schedule. That's ridiculous. I'm trying to
for 3 quarters last night, 3-0 was not out of the question.
We were winning. Saquon scored that touchdown.
Right. It didn't feel good, but we were, it was a one-score game for the most part.
It was like, here we go again.
Yeah, right. And look, I don't want to give away too much of what we're going to go into, but yeah, it is what it is. Look, losing sucks and losing always hurts, but all right. On to next week. We could do.
I'll tell you real quick what surprised me. I predicted a loss when we did our things, but I wanted us to win, obviously. But I was shocked. So this is just high level. This isn't offense, defense, whatever. Real quick takeaways, if I may. 3. That's it. 1, I was shocked at our lack of energy. And I was like, here we go again. And Dallas, to be fair to them, and we hate Dallas, right? But to be fair, they have a history of coming in here and just having energy, man. I mean, playing frenetic, playing pumped up, and bringing it. And I was like, man, new roster, new players, new coaching staff, new culture, as we like to say. I was like, these guys are going to bring it. And they didn't. No. I mean, that was my first takeaway. And I know we were tweeting last night about number 2, I was shocked that there were no turnovers. There were no major turnovers for a game that was a defensive struggle on both sides for the most part. And I was surprised that it was as low scoring as it was, given that there were no turnovers and given there was as much offense being generated in terms of the play calling from both sides. It was just poor execution in many ways. And we'll get into that. Yeah. I thought it was going to be even more high scoring. I mean, I didn't predict. I thought it was going to be a close, tough, ugly game. But the way it started out, I was like, oh, these guys are going to score some points on each other. So by the end of it, yeah, it was a seesaw of emotions. I felt like.
But what's funny? And we both agree that we were in that game until the fourth quarter, really. But for some reason, like with the first 2 weeks, it was like, hey, we're going to win this game. I didn't feel that last night. And I don't know if it's to your point, it was the energy. Just Dallas always seems to come into MetLife now just like they want it more.
They want to kill us. They come in.
They hate us. There's hate there.
Yeah.
And
they're looking for blood.
Yeah, and we didn't. You're right. We didn't match that energy last night.
No, that was very disappointing.
It extremely was. The whole whiteout thing, and look, there were times where the crowd seemed to really, like early on, the crowd seemed really into it. But then it mellowed a little bit. It was a roller coaster last night. Then Saquon scored, and everybody was crazy, and we'll get into the rest of it. It was ebb and flows last night.
Yes.
Couple quick takeaways that I have was on the positive, in spite of everything, the team is still competing. They're competing, they're playing hard. That's a positive to me. They're buying into what Daboll's selling them. And they believe in these coaches, they believe in each other. I'll take that. And Steve, you can go back to all of our shows. I've said it almost on every show. I just want to see a team that competes.
Yes.
And we've got that. So I thought that was a positive there. Okay. One thing that the light bulb went on for me last night was that good teams are going to expose our flaws. Dallas is a very good defense. That their front is very good. They're aggressive. They attack. So, all right. So Micah Parsons didn't do damage last night, but Dexter Lawrence killed us. So good teams are going to expose our flaws and our holes during the course of the season. Here's what I didn't like. This is the 11th straight primetime game that we've lost.
Yeah.
11th straight. And I put a tweet out there yesterday morning. Primetime games scare the hell out of me. And we're seeing why. We've lost 13 of the last 15 to Dallas. That's a killer to me. That one, that's unacceptable to me. This is division team. And you want to call yourself a good team, well, you've got to beat good teams. And right now, Dallas is a good team, and we're losing 13 of our last 15 to them. That's disappointing to me. And you know what it is? It seems that when we play them in Philadelphia, and even quite honestly, to a degree, Washington, we implode. We beat ourselves in a lot of those games.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part of that, is that, you and I are old school. We're used to the Giants in the 80s and 90s where, they were drooling for blood. And once they got the lead, they didn't give it up, and they imposed their will early on. So it's a little disheartening, but, those are my biggest takeaways right now. So there is some positive there with the team competing, but, yeah, that one just kind of stung a little bit last night overall as well. So, what are you seeing on the offensive side of the ball?
So I have a couple of specific thoughts. Listen, and I'm sure everybody is in agreement with this. Our wide receiver room is completely void of I'll just call it impact players. Forget talent. Darius Slayton had a really nice rookie year. Kenny Golladay in the past has done some great things in the NFL, but these guys are shells of themselves. We have one player that it appears every time he touches the field and he gets the ball in his hands, it's magic. And everybody knows who I'm going to say. That's Kadarius Toney. But I was wrong about him after he was drafted. Even after his rookie year, I was like, "You guys just watch." And it's the same crap again. The guy can't get on the field. So Wandale, I would love to put Wandale in that same category. I think we're all excited about him in the preseason, but it's the same boat with Wandale. He's still not healthy. So our wide receiver room is void of impact players. Richie James is doing yeoman's work for what he and who he is. And, thank goodness we have him, but he's not a wide receiver one. He's probably not even a wide receiver two. So that's a sad state of affairs. We didn't lose the game because of Daniel. Let's talk about Daniel Jones real quick. I saw progress. I feel like what he's doing is, and if you close your eyes and visualize it, when you watch the game, he actually is, you could tell that he's actually feeling the bubble of a pocket around him. Mm-hmm. And with all the pressure coming at him, what was cool was he was doing what, like, the better quarterbacks in the NFL, I'm not going to list them because people are going to say, "Oh, you're comparing them." No, I'm not saying he's those guys, but he's doing what they do. He was manipulating the pocket, feeling the pressure. It was him creating a pocket, saying, "You know what? If I shift to the left a little bit, the pocket's here. It may only be here for 2 seconds, but it's here. And that's going to be something I can step into and throw." And I haven't seen him do that in a really, really long time. Now, if he's going to do that, okay, that's lovely, but is he going to look down the field, or is he going to look down at the ground every time there's a rush? Yeah. Is he going to look just at his first target, lock into it, throw a potential interception, and here? But he didn't. His decision-making, he was finding open receivers. How many times last night did he manipulate the pocket? Did he then run out of the pocket, take a boot out away from the rushers? And he made some amazing throws on the run. Yeah. I mean, it was like his rookie year again. Yeah. So I don't know if this is going to continue. I don't know if it's an upward trend. I think we can all hope and pray that it is. He still has a really, really long way to go to be a guy that, maybe they'll keep him next year. Who knows? Like, I'm not saying he's close to that, but he took a huge step forward. He is by no means the reason we lost the game last night. I thought he was phenomenal. There was literally one pass that could have been intercepted. Okay, they got lucky. But how many drops from Sterling Shepard, Mr. Reliable? He had a couple drops. Kenny Golladay, we all know, had a big drop. So we didn't lose the game because of him. Here's the last half of what I was going to say about offense. I thought we were outcoached on both sides of the ball. Yep. I thought, and it's ironic, because what did I say the first 2 games? We won, thank goodness. I wasn't trying to be Mr. Negative, but I was very unpleased with Kafka/Dable, to the extent that Dable was involved as well with pregame, with how we opened our offense. And you made a very good point in Tennessee. We got was it Tennessee? No. Carolina, thank you. We got the turnover. And so it wasn't a traditional receiving a kickoff. okay, you're
Right.
scripted, your first 13 scripted plays. So you're like, hey, Steve, take it easy. And I said, you were right. But I was very unhappy those first two games with Kafka, the offensive play calling, how the game started out. And we all saw the first halves were like horrible. And then second half adjustments, phenomenal. They came out, everything changed. Ironically, I thought this game, the offensive play calling was awesome.
Huh.
Misdirections, using the tight ends. I don't want to take away your, I'm sure you're probably going to get into some of that. Halftime adjustments were good, but then my biggest problem with offense and quote unquote being out coached is two things. One, not giving help to Evan Neal.
Oh,
Listen, the guy gives up a sack. He gives up 2 sacks even. Okay. DeMarcus Lawrence is having a day. He gave up 3 sacks. They put Bellinger out there. Bellinger whiffed, who we all love Bellinger, but they put him out there to help with that one play. I don't know if you saw the replay of it.
yes.
He they didn't give him help. They weren't chipping. It's going to be, look, we can talk about Evan Neal. This is going to be a growing process. This is like Andrew Thomas's rookie year, but the number one thing to me was getting away from Saquon.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted them to I didn't want them to become predictable, but I wanted them to keep feeding Saquon. And then we saw when they finally gave it to him a little bit, they teased us. He had that 36-yard run where he juked 2 defender. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable. Saquon is back. That was rookie year Saquon. Well, what do? You keep feeding him the freaking ball. And if he's only getting 4 yards to carry, who cares? It's 4 yards. It's not 2 or 3, it's 4. Keep giving him the ball, get him involved. I think it's a learning process for Kafka, as well as a lot of these players in this system. It's weird. I almost think I think we all know Kafka's learning on the job too. So I think the future's bright. They just got to get the right players. But this was very, very, very disappointing on offense for me personally. I saw so many bright spots, but that offensive line, man. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, you touched on a couple of things. And I'll just kind of piggyback some of your thoughts. So Daniel Jones, I agree with you. Anybody out there trying to blame him for this loss last night, just, you know what? They're not dealing in reality.
No.
They're so blinded by their dislike. I won't say hatred, but they're so blinded by their dislike of him. And you could see there's people out there that were just waiting for the Giants to lose so that could all start up again. Daniel Jones was not the reason why we lost last night.
No, sir.
You know, he threw for almost 200 yards. All right. He ran for almost 80 yards. And his decision-making has gotten so much better, right? Aside from the interception against Tennessee, he hasn't really made many bad decisions, glaring, that have cost us or put us in trouble. Even last night, with all the pressure he faced, and just looking at some of the numbers, sacked 5 times, 12 quarterback hits. Lawrence, as we said, 3 sacks. He had 23 quarterback pressures last night. It's the most he's ever faced in his NFL career.
I think it's number 1 in the NFL this season so far.
And that was just one game.
Yeah.
Think about it. So how can anybody accurately judge Daniel Jones when he's either on his back or he's running for his life every play? Now, you brought up a good point, which I thought was very interesting last night. I was watching that myself. Is that, and so we're describing it 2 different ways, but I think we're saying the same thing. In my opinion, he's really starting to develop that pocket presence that we've all been saying he's lacking. You know, he's getting better at tucking the ball and running with the ball. And I think he's actually seeing the field better now, because you could see when he's running, he's picking up positive yardage. You know what I'm saying? It's not just he's running side to side and getting tackled. He's picking up positive yardage. He's moving the ball forward. So I like what you said also about manipulating the pocket. He sees where there's an opening where maybe, you know, if I can get out here, maybe I could see something downfield. He's not just forcing the ball now. He's looking. He's going through. I guess he's trying to go through his progressions with the limited time he's got. So in that sense, I'm very pleased with him. And no, I don't blame him for last night. So the interception, Sills fell coming out of his cut. You can't blame that on Daniel Jones. It was a timing pattern. The receiver fell down, and Diggs actually made a nice play to make that interception. The ball hit his hand on the ground. So he made a good play. Hats off to him. Um, Daniel Jones is also 0-9 in prime time too, by the way. But so be it. So there's that. The offensive line, I want to try to temper my comments here because I think a lot of that goes into coaching as well. We've got our left tackle. I still fully believe that we've got our right tackle of the future. It's very clear. It's very, very clear to me that he's having trouble adjusting to the speed of the NFL. And you could just see when they show him on replays, and even if you watch him on a couple plays, his steps are choppy. And that'll come with time and experience. I'm not worried about him. I'm just not. My gut tells me that he'll be fine. It's look, Andrew Thomas took a long time. Would it take a full season before he really his light bulb went on? So I mean, for people to write him off as a bust after 3 games, I just think is ludicrous. And then there's people saying, well, we moved him from left tackle to right tackle. He played right tackle previously.
Full season at Alabama.
Exactly right. So that's, again, that's people, and I put it out there today. That's someone who,
they just don't do their homework.
Yeah, they're a Madden GM. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
And so, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. The wide receivers, Kenny Golladay, 3 targets, 2 drops, and 1 was called back because of a penalty. And all I'm going to say about Kenny Golladay is I'm going to use his words. Well, I should be playing regardless. Well, you just had the chance last night and you blew it. So, very, very heartbroken over Sterling Shepard. Tough way to go out. I think we've seen the last of him in a Giants uniform, unfortunately. Maybe in a football uniform. Took a bad penalty last night. He took a Mike Evans penalty last night, came off the bench on the late hit on Daniel Jones. But again, as like what I said about Mike Evans, and it applies to Sterling Shepard. I like the fact that they're sticking up for each other.
But it was also BS when they called him for
pass interference. Yes.
And the receiver always has priority to run the receiver has the right of way.
Right.
Somebody said it last night on Twitter, Carl. I don't mean to interrupt, but somebody said, the problem with playing the Cowboys is it's never just the Cowboys. It's the one team that when you play in the Cowboys, you're playing the Cowboys and the refs.
It was a Dallas call. I put it out there. That was a typical Dallas Cowboy call.
Such BS, man.
Yeah, it was. So, I'm going to kind of cut back some of my offensive comments because some of them kind of go into Kafka. Saquon, to your point, Saquon is back. Very happy he's back. Feed him. Just keep feeding him. And one observation I make about Daniel Jones, which I think will always, unless he develops this, and I don't know if you can coach this, he's not the quarterback that says, hey, I'm going to put this team on my shoulders and I'm going to win us this game. And that right there, I think, may be what holds him back from ever taking that next step. And in games like last night, something like that was sorely needed. And to your point, I'm not going to throw out names because then we're going to get accused of comparing. Well, he's not this. But he doesn't have that mentality. In as much as he says, well, I wanted to score, but he doesn't have that makeup and that mentality to say, all right, I'm going to win this game for us. So I'd like to see that. I don't know if he's got it in him. But that's pretty much my offense. Our wide receivers are now something we did today. So Antonio Williams was waived.
Yes.
And we waived somebody else off the practice squad. I forgot who, but
a linebacker. I forget who, but yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're going to be bringing in some receivers. Now, ideally, you'd like to say, okay, hey, Kenny Golladay, earn your freaking money. Kadarius Toney, you know what? Suck it up and play. What's concerning me is Wan'Dale Robinson, radio silence about him since he went out. You hear nothing. You don't hear he's close. You don't hear he's healing. You don't hear anything.
Yeah, because Dable always says day to day. That's all he's ever going to say.
That's concerning to me. Hey, Darius Slayton. Okay, took a paycheck, good guy. Here's an opportunity for you to show yourself.
Supposedly he got 14 snaps last night. I didn't see him on the field. I guess I missed it because, when you watch TV, you don't see the full, you see the full field, but even when you see it, you're not seeing all the numbers on their jerseys, and it's hard. But supposedly he got 14 snaps, but I don't think he got a single target. I could be wrong. But,
I don't believe he was targeted, but I did see him.
and he's the one guy that, in theory, the one skill that he has is being able to stretch the field. And granted, Daniel was, facing a pass rush the whole time, but yeah.
So, we'll see. Interior offensive line, horrible, needs work. Wide receivers need work. Keep feeding Saquon. But again, overall, Daniel Jones has, in my opinion, elevated his game this year. Again, to your point, pocket presence, manipulating the pocket, better decision making. So, is that enough to bring him back? We'll never know that answer, because that's. I'm sure Shane and Dable have their own set of criteria and things that they're looking at, and they're not going to share that with us.
Can I give you the one thing that I think you're trying to say? And I'm not going to mention our former quarterbacks, but the one thing that, in spite of the fact that it was drive saving when he manipulated and got out of the pocket and formed a new pocket and looked for, throwing receivers on the run. And that was amazing. I mean, amazing last night. That throw to Richie James where he threw off his back foot, rolling to the right, off his back foot. There was a time it's like, okay, here we go. That's going to get intercepted. I mean, he threw it over the defender, like dropped it in, little pin drop. Like, what? How the hell?
Where did a needle?
Oh, like, and Richie, it was right before he was about to go out of bounds. Like, how the hell did he fit that in there?
Right.
But I think what you're getting at, and I'll end it here with Daniel Jones, unless you want to, is we saw Cooper Rush do it last night. I even tweeted about it. Granted, his offensive line was performing better than ours. They were facing, but in the first quarter, we got a little bit of a rush on, and he was facing a little bit of pressure. And even when and we'll get into defense, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, even when our defense was applying a little bit of pressure early on, what did Cooper Rush do? A 6-year veteran who's hardly ever started any games, but he's on a 2-game winning streak, replacing Dak. He stood in the pocket, strong and tall, and slung it, facing the pass rush, took the hits. I think Giants fans, we don't want to see our quarterback get creamed in the pocket. Don't get me wrong. But what have all of our great quarterbacks the last 30 years done? Our great quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, what do the great quarterbacks around the league do? Many of them, a great majority, can move. It's not like it used to be. Patrick Mahomes, even Aaron Rodgers, they can move. Tom Brady, no. But you have quarterbacks who, even when they're not moving and there's a little bit of a pocket, they're only getting a 3-second window, they're staying in the pocket, they're standing strong, they're finding their first, maybe their second or even third option, and they're about to get hit. They stay in the pocket strong and they make the throw. We never see Daniel Jones do that. He immediately gets happy feet. He immediately gets nervous. Now, last night it was great because he did that and he sensed a new pocket and found his receiver. So that's progress. But I think Giants fans, when you say put the team on the back, we want to see Daniel stay in the pocket, lead, like physically, like actions, right? Like stay strong, find your second. And you know what? It sucks. It's going to hurt. But every once in a while, man, you got to take a hit, but take that hit and find that. And I'm sorry if people disagree with me, but we never see that. I mean, I can't remember. No, I always like to say he was a phenomenal basketball player growing up, playing the AAU. A lot of the guys he played with went to the NBA eventually. He's a basketball player who, over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years since Duke, has learned to play football. But he's not a natural football player. And that doesn't mean he can't be a great quarterback, but it's like we're physically watching that. He doesn't have those instincts and that ability to stay in the pocket, find the receiver, take that hit.
But he showed a lot of heart last night.
Last night was
showed a lot of heart.
Last night was progress.
And you know what, Steve? A lot of the comments today from the offensive linemen, for pretty much everybody on the offense, were like, we've got to do a better job for Daniel Jones. And they were saying, Feliciano said he's out there playing his ass off. We got to do better for him.
I thought there were only three people that showed up, like truly showed up: Daniel, Saquon, and Andrew Thomas. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it.
But you know what's funny? It's sadly it's a common theme. That's a problem.
Well, this GM and this coach are going to fix it.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So let's go to defense here, Stephen. And if you don't mind, I'll lead the way on defense.
Please.
So look, let's start from the top. No pass rush. None. Terrible. Yes, we had Al-Jalari back. Yes, we had Thibodeau back. No, they didn't make an impact. Okay, first game back. Look, I'm just going to say this. I said it out there today, and I'm going to say it again. Before the injury, Thibodeau was quiet in the preseason. All right? I think he will eventually make an impact. I do. The skill set is just too good for him not to. But it's got my attention, if nothing else, that he's been relatively quiet at this level so far. Long way to go. It's only 3 games and 1.5 preseason games. Okay. Maybe I'm being heavy-handed. Again, I think he's going to be fine, but it's got my attention that he's been quiet. Okay. 6.4 yards per carry for Dallas, 178 rushing yards. We missed Leonard Williams. And okay, maybe he's overpaid. Great. But you know what? We miss Leonard Williams. We miss that big body in the middle of the line, blocking up running holes, clogging up running holes, disrupting the play, whatever he does. We missed him last night, and they attacked it, and they were very, very, very smart in doing so. So were we outcoached? Yes. Yes. They attacked our weakness. They exploited it. And, again, we had DJ Davidson in there. We had Nick Williams in there. We had Henry Monderow in there. None of them were Leonard Williams. We missed Leonard Williams terribly last night. Here, no pressure, no takeaways, no sacks. Not one of our best defensive efforts. Not what we've come to expect after weeks 1 and 2. And someone, please tell Tay Crowder that when you are going to make a play on a ball carrier, football 101, you lock onto his waist, you drive through him, and you wrap your arms, and you make the play. Now, Ezekiel Elliott, as much as I dislike him, and I don't like Ezekiel Elliott, he's a very strong running back. I have to give him credit. Very strong, okay? But Crowder on that play where Zeke scored had the angle, he beat him to the hole, and he just – Steve, as an ex-football coach, the techniques for tackling in the NFL are terrible. I feel like I say this every week. It's nothing but a collision sport. Sometimes you get lucky. Most times you bounce off the running back or the ball carrier.
It's like what was the play against Tennessee where he had that hit against Derrick Henry and it was like, oh,
look, he got lucky because Henry's off balance.
And he was going sideways.
Yes.
This one was head on and bounced right off him.
It just look, I'm not saying Dallas wouldn't have scored there. They were on the 1 yard line. Okay. But still, he had him. He had a chance to make a play, and he didn't wrap his arms again. All right. And this is why Tay Crowder is never going to be a great linebacker.
Nope.
Never. Here's something that bothered me. So Saquon, 36 yards, touchdown run, great. Boom. Crowd's into it. We've got the lead. We're all jacked up. What do? We kick off. We let them run right down the field to score. And that has been the trademark of our defense the last decade. Can't make a big stop when we need to. We're still not there yet. Okay. Now, Wink couldn't get to the quarterback. It's another thing I have written down here. And that's a problem. That's, okay, so Wink is trying different schemes. He's blitzing, he's aggressive. I'll give him all that. But we're still not getting to the quarterback. We still are not applying pressure. Now, I'm being very cautious, Steve, in blaming that all on Wink. Wink can only make lemonade out of the lemons he's got. All right. So maybe we just don't have the personnel yet. But still, I mean, it's a problem. We said it, you even said it in the preseason. If we can't put pressure on the quarterback, we are going to be in for a long season. We have not pressured any quarterback yet this year, except for Julian Love at the end of the Carolina game. That was it, right?
I think we have 1 sack in Tennessee and 2 sacks last week.
So, all right. I mean, 3 sacks in 3 games. It's 1 sack. It's terrible.
Timon Fox had a sack and he didn't even play this game.
Yeah. All right. Exactly. To your point. DeMarcus Lawrence had 3 in the first half. So, defense, I don't have too much bad to say about the secondary. One stat that jumped out at me was, Adoree Jackson was on CeeDee Lamb last night. And CeeDee Lamb went for what? 8 for what, 80 something or 70 something and a touchdown. I know Adoree Jackson's been playing well, so I don't want to get on him too much.
I'm okay with that because that's his first bad game in literally like a season and a half.
Yeah, that's kind of why, as I was going through the stats, that kind of jumped out at me.
And I thought part of that, not to jump on your band, but part of that was that's what happens when you don't get a pass rush. Like Cooper Rush had so much time. It allowed CeeDee Lamb, who, by the way, is so overrated. I mean, the drop the guy had. I mean, you never see any receiver in the top 20 in the NFL drop passes the way. And by the way, he's dropped plenty of passes against the Giants the last couple of years, and it's been great. Yeah. But every time they do, I'm like, oh, don't tell me CeeDee Lamb is a number 1. Come on, stop.
And what kills me, Steve? And I'm going to say this is a general state of the NFL statement. Did you see him after he dropped that touchdown pass? Laughing.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. I can't, show like it means something to you. Or he made a great play on the touchdown. I'm not going to take that away from him. But I mean, show me you care. Don't just, hey, I got my money. They're going to play me. That just drove me. That drove me as crazy as Ted Crowder missing the tackle on Zeke. I hate that. Just be a professional. That's all I'm going to say about that. What do you got about the defense?
Look, a lot of the same notes as you. I'm so grateful we have Wink. I've been going on and on for weeks now about, oh my God, where would it be without Wink and running this defense and pressure bakes pipes, as he likes to say, and the pressure we've been applying and what we have yet to look forward to with Wink running this defense and the exotic looks that he shows. And there was some exotic, but look, man, they have literally a patchwork offensive line. They still have a Hall of Famer at one of the guard spots, Zach Martin. I mean, literally, the guy's still one of the top 2 or 3 guards in football, if not the best. But they literally have crapola. They have 2 rookies. They have a guy who hasn't played guard in a decade. He's 40 years old. Granted, he was an All-Pro at Philadelphia. They literally signed him off the street. He was sitting on his couch last week. All 380 pounds of him. They bring him in like he was Lincoln Kennedy, plug him in at guard. And their coaching was phenomenal. They just kept running to that left side, like, okay, let's run to the left side because we didn't stop it. They have a patchwork offensive line, guys, like starters that are out, multiple starters, Pro Bowlers that aren't playing. Our defense should have been feasting on them. Now, I agree with what you said in the beginning. Azeez and Kayvon, okay, I get it, guys. They're coming off injuries. I saw one person on Twitter last night. Oh, they need time to meld. What do you mean meld? They play on opposite sides. They don't run like a 2-man stunt. They need time to meld. What the hell are you talking about, meld? The one guy's on the far right, the one guy's on the far left. They're lining up wide, quite frankly, almost like a wide seven. There's no melding. God, get the damn quarterback, like, and set the edge. Aziz, that's like one of the things he's been phenomenal at since he came into the league. And I guess, you know, they like to say if they're playing, they're expected to play and be who they're supposed to be. But I think we could tell it was their first game back, and they're still probably not, they're not 100%.
Right.
I know Kayvon had the brace on his knee. Look, Kayvon had 35 out of a possible 61 snaps. Aziz played 29 out of a possible 61. Kayvon had the knee, Aziz had the calf. They both had equal stats. They each had one tackle and one pressure. And listen, I mean, as fans, we can't be blamed. I mean, I think we all expected a hell of a lot more. And if they weren't gonna, and Aziz was applying some nice pressure in the beginning of the game, and then Aziz had that one play where he was out in coverage and Cooper Rush lofted a ball right over his head into the
Beautiful pass, by the way.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So look, our defense has kept us in games, and that's been great. It's been unexpected against the last two. But this, for me, against a quarterback that's not mobile, who stood strong in the pocket, but that's what he does. He stands in the pocket against literally a patchwork offensive line. Come on, guys, and come on, Wink. You got to do better. You got to do better. And I think he would admit that, you know. I think Wink expects more. So didn't see much of Dane Belton. That was strange.
Right.
He played a huge role in his first game back last week.
Did he play last night, Steve?
He was suited up. I saw him.
Seen him,
but I didn't notice him. So, or if he did play, there wasn't much going on that was noticeable.
Did Flop play?
Flop played.
He did play.
Look, Darnay Holmes is not a starting cornerback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think we've seen enough. He was exciting as a rookie playing that nickel spot. I think we're all excited about the potential. Wow, we got to find out of UCLA. This kid's great. He's got some great pedigree, and last year was we definitely saw a big drop off. And I think this year with the preseason, and I think he had 3 picks in the preseason, like, oh, wow, Wink and the defensive coaching staff and Darnay's, he's showing up. And every game there's been defensive holding penalties that have killed him. And I don't think he had it much in this game. I think he got lucky, quite frankly. There was defensive holding in the end zone. They didn't call on him. Yeah. So he was very lucky.
Right.
But he has no coverage skills whatsoever. Mm. He's not a heavy hitter like he was maybe a little bit his rookie year. So I think they're going to be looking to upgrade significantly in our defensive backfield in the offseason. And I just think that there's so many holes on this team, and defense has more holes than even I realized. Yeah. And I heard somebody talking about it in the last 24 hours after the game. They said, one of the strengths of the defense has been our defensive line for many, many, many years. We've just had a knack for drafting defensive linemen, and we've often seen them get signed by other teams. Linval Joseph was signed away to Minnesota. Prior to that, Barry Cofield was signed away to the Washington team. We all saw, oh my gosh, what's his name out of Alabama that went to Minnesota more recently? Dalvin Tomlinson. Got the big money. But then we've always had a nice rotation. I think one of the big screw ups at the time, we didn't think it was so big. I don't think anybody was really happy with it, but was when BJ Hill, by the dingbat GM, traded him to Cincinnati for that terrible offensive lineman who's not even on the team anymore. And we needed offensive lineman, don't get me wrong, but I think that hurt us. We saw how BJ Hill did for them last year. They went all the way to the Super Bowl, and I think he's having another good season. So he wasn't a starter, but it was depth. You know what I mean? Like with Leo out, they were talking about it during the game, and I heard somebody today talking about it. I'd give credit, but I forget who, so forgive me. But we like the rookie DJ Davidson, the defensive tackle we got out of Arizona. He's got potential. He's had some nice games, but he also has had some blow-ups where he missed his assignment. Our linebackers stink, so they didn't fill the gap, and boom, a huge run. we don't have that depth on our offensive line. The defensive linemen we signed as free agents, Winks boys like Ellis, and there was another one. They've been terrible. So that's normally like the strength of our team. Is it starts with that defensive line, and I think we're starting to realize how bare the cupboard is. Thanks to our last GM, they really got to restock and probably more position groups than we realized. So I hope we get Leo back. The defense was incredibly disappointing. I was grateful they kept us in the game. It's not like Dallas scored 30 points, but
Right.
so yeah, echoing a lot of your thoughts, but those are my additional ones. So,
so let me ask you a question. Because this popped into my head as you were talking about Darnay Holmes and so on and so forth. We'll probably get Aaron Robinson back this week. I'm hoping.
Thank goodness.
From the
I'm probably a bigger fan than most people of him, but yeah.
How much of an impact do you see that making in this defense after what you saw last night? Put it this way: if he played last night, do you think the result would have been any different?
No, because of our offensive line.
Right. Defensive line.
Our offensive line.
Well, okay, I see what you're saying.
Because even with Dallas scoring there, and that was horrible, we had an opportunity to go down and tie it.
Yes.
We had an opportunity to go down and tie it if it wasn't for how things played out with Sterling Shepard and Kenny Galladay.
Do you think our defense will play now? Of course, okay, so Leonard Williams is hurt, but I guess my question is how much of a difference do you see replacing Darnay Holmes with Aaron Robinson?
Oh, I'm not saying they're going to replace Darnay Holmes with Aaron Robinson, but I think what Wink is a master of is moving players around as chess pieces and understanding how to bring pressure from unexpected places, and also doing what he's been doing with Julian Love, for example. That's probably the best example on the whole defense of taking a guy and saying, what the heck are your strengths? Great. Let's run with that, baby. You tell me these are your strengths. Well, let's do it. Yeah, but they always played me at corner and I don't care. Let's do this. Let's blitz you. Let's do it. Really? Nobody's ever used Julian Love that way. Well, I'm going to, and it's going to be fun, and he's going to have fun and he's going to love it. And it's going to be, I think that's what Wink does is he takes players and puts them in their best positions to be successful, bringing pressure. And so having an Aaron Robinson with his skill set and his talent, because he is incredibly talented physically, he's incredibly hard-nosed player. He's got a lot to learn in coverage, and we're seeing that. But that's how corners learn. Like I said a couple episodes ago, I was very animated. Name me 5 cornerbacks that have come into the league and been awesome their rookie year. Yeah. No, the kid in Detroit wasn't great his rookie year. Now he's awesome. Maybe Jalen Ramsey. That's it. That's like literally the only guy I can think of. Revis Island back in the day. I mean, most corners don't come in the league and are awesome their rookie year. They go through tremendous growing pains. So listen, most of his rookie year last year, he didn't even play. He was hurt. So anyway, the point with Aaron Robinson, to answer your question, is I think it's going to give him additional high caliber options. So are we still going to see some of the same players they've been using? Yeah, but it gives them additional depth. And remember one thing, and my final thought to answer your question, the NFL and the NFL games, and each week is different than the week before, are all about matchups. Mm-hmm. So you're never as good as you look when you win by 30, and you're never as bad as you are seen when you lose by 30. Right. New England was undefeated, and we kicked their tuchus in the Super Bowl, right? Like, okay, big deal, but you guys didn't win the Super Bowl. Who cares how many wins you had? You're never as good as you see. So for me, and I think for most of the people in the know, it's matchups. Well, having an Aaron Robinson gives Wink more toys in his toolbox to say, okay, how can I play around? And for him, I think that's when he's more successful. Now I got this guy. If he gets Leo back, okay, Leonard Williams, I can do this. And maybe he's not going to have 11 sacks, but that's going to free up my linebackers who, quite frankly, aren't so great. But now I can do this with them, and I can bring Julian Love up. It's for him. I think he's a master chess player.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. And you mentioned
and so forgive me. Look how great it was having Dane Belton back last week. Look at the options it gave him. Look how active he was this week, where it was 2 heavy running backs. Belton is a little bit better in the pass game, 5 interceptions in college. His finally, we didn't see him as much.
Right. Matchup. Yeah.
Options.
Yeah. And you saw a lot of McKinney and Love playing in the box last night.
I remember you pointed out McKinney.
Yeah. And you know what? They're doing a good job there. I want to make sure that I recognize that I actually thought Julian Love had a pretty good game again last night. He was very physical, very active. And so was, McKinney is McKinney.
McKinney almost had an interception. I was like, oh God.
Yes, I know.
I think that's what this team needs. They need to have those turnovers like we did.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed. All right. So coaching, what do you have, anything specific to coaching?
No, I mean, I kind of covered it. I thought it was just the opposite of the first 2 games on offense. I thought where I was disappointed in the beginning of those games with our offensive play calls, I was like blown away. The use of tight ends, putting our offensive players in advantageous positions against the flow of traffic, so to speak, causing the defenders to make a decision. When they finally did use Saquon, it was great, good halftime adjustments. But then the last 2/3 of that second half of the game, of the majority of the third and then the fourth quarter, they just got away from the things that were working. The misdirection, using the tight end, Saquon, getting Daniel out of the pocket, RPO. They started getting away from, especially Saquon. I mean, you got to feed it, man. He's Saquon rookie year, man. You got to,
Here's what I think, and I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking, but as fans, we kind of sit here and we watch and we dissect it, and we talked about no help for Neil, which I think is glaring last night. That's one thing. Have to point that out again. They just that was bad.
Glaring.
Yeah. I think missing Leonard Williams and the success that Dallas was having running the ball took Wink out of his game plan a little bit last night. I actually think Wink had a different scheme to put pressure on Cooper Rush, but Dallas was so effective running the ball that he had to kind of scale that back, and it just looked like he was a little hamstrung last night by that run game. And that's, again, that's coaching. That's the chess match. All right, you're gonna scheme against this. Well, I'm gonna do this. See if you can stop that. So again, I hate to say we're out coached, but I think Dallas coaches were better last night. And this is what I also noticed as well. So we came out hot in the third quarter. We made halftime adjustments, came out hot, right? Started running Saquon run 36-yard touchdown, boom, third quarter. Then, of course, again, as we said earlier, Dallas on the next possession comes right down the field. They go right down the field and they kick a field goal. I believe they kicked the field goal and they tied the game. Where I think we hurt ourselves is that took us out of the game plan that we entered the third quarter in. We went back to trying to get fancy and trying to get back to throwing the ball downfield, trying to get the lead again instead of just doing what was working. So Kafka takes a little bit of a hit too last night, as did Wink. I think last night in the fourth quarter, they burned the TD they burned the timeout on a fourth down in the fourth quarter, I think they were trying to preserve a first down or something. I don't think they need to call a timeout there. And that call kind of questioned me. And then this one drove me crazy was no challenge on the catch that CeeDee Lamb made where he stretched out for the first down.
Yeah.
I would have challenged that.
They asked him
either way, but challenge it.
I think they asked him in the post-game presser, and he said that he went upstairs and they were running a tempo offense. They were trying to get it back going, and upstairs said they saw the replay and he was in touch through his headphone with upstairs, and they said, don't challenge it.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, the Giants.com post-game presser. I think I saw that.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
It makes more sense because it was just, I mean, I was screaming at the TV, throw the flag. I just thought his clock management last night was a little off. So
it was a clunker for, I think, a lot of phases of the game.
Yeah, but again, my point is that's Dallas playing better and that's Dallas coaching better. They took us out of our, they took us out of our comfort zone last night in all aspects of the game. And so when I say, we were out coached last night, those are the reasons why we were out coached.
Yeah.
Only out coached last night. And again, it's game 3, year 1 of the rebuild. I think all aspects of this team are going to continue to get better. I still think we have the right front office. I still think we have a good coaching staff. We've got to be patient. We've got to be patient. You know what? We talk about Wink and he couldn't stop the run. He couldn't do the ball. Again, he can only do so much with the personnel he has. This roster is not complete yet. They're still in the process of transitioning into the type of roster they want. So we're going to have to make do with what we have this year, fully understanding we're in a rebuild, and we'll see what they add next year.
He likes to say smart, tough, dependable, and it's become already in just a short period of time since he's been our coach. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. But like, if you really think about what he means by that, and I get the feeling like he's put a tremendous amount of thought into those 3 words. Smart. I mean, he really, I think that's why, maybe not all, but some of these guys in the wide receiver room may not be playing in some of these other players because you need to learn this offense.
Yeah.
You need to know these plays and where to be. And tough and dependable is how tough are you when you get on that field? Can you play through injury? And are you dependable to play through being hurt a little bit? Is, as they like to say, hurt versus injury. Can they depend on you? Can they depend on you to play? Can they depend on you to make the right decisions when you're on the field? Can you be dependent upon, like, Kenny Galladay wasn't at that last drive where, dude, catch the freaking ball. Like, the ball was in your hands, like, bring it in. And I think when we look back at Buffalo and Knox, their tight end, we've talked about, who never had a touchdown in college. Again, it blows my mind. Gabe Davis at wide receiver. The guy wasn't like one of the great college wide receivers coming out in the draft. They found guys that they knew fit what they're looking for in their system. But I think it's their definition of what's a football player. And I think that's why I admire them. They stick to their guns. They know the type of human beings they want to put into those uniforms. They know the type of offense and defense they want to run. It's just going to take time. There's going to be some turnover of this roster. It's going to continue.
Steve, it's funny. I was just thinking about this as you said that. Smart, tough, and dependable. Daniel Jones, smart, right? I think he's smart. I think anybody in that roster and in that locker room would say he's smart. He showed last night he's tough. He took a lot of hits last night, and unless he physically can't, he gets up and he takes more. Dependable, we're still working through that.
I think that's the big question is, can you depend on him?
Right.
I've been saying it's from the neck up.
Yeah.
Positions are from the neck up. Can you depend on him to be an NFL quarterback, to make the decisions, to carry the team? Hey, listen, let me ask you a question, if that's okay.
Sure.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot. And for everyone listening, I didn't ask Carl this question ahead of time. I think it's a good opportunity for us to sort of segue to next week in the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I have written down the answer to this already, so I'm kind of cheating because as we're talking, I think so. If you want to think for a minute, I'll go first.
But you're not putting me on the spot.
Well, I'd love for you to go, but if you need to think about it. So what's one thing that you think they can fix on defense and one thing they can fix on offense going into next week? What do we as fans hopefully if you and I were the head coach, what would be the one thing that we think, keep it simple, let's fix this one thing, and that's a recipe for a win next week? Because at the end of the day, we can turn the page and hopefully get a win against a beatable Chicago team. Also, surprisingly 2-1, shockingly 2-1. But with a lot of their own holes and a lot of their own problems and growing pains, a new coach, what's one thing that you think they can fix on each side of the ball?
Good question. On offense, Steve, I would find a way to give Evan Neal more help. And I would also say, you know what, feed Saquon. That's what I would say. So my answer on offense is a two-parter. Just Saquon's your horse, ride him.
Okay.
And give Evan Neal some help. On defense, look, it's easy to sit here and say, well, you got to put pressure on Justin Fields. Now, does that mean you have someone and you tell him your job this week is to shadow Justin Fields wherever he goes? That is your job. So you're dedicating one player on that defense to shadow Justin Fields because he's a double threat quarterback. Eliminate one of the ways he can hurt you. Don't let him run. Have somebody, the minute he starts running, you come up and you hit him. You have to. Blitz more. Okay. We're not getting to the quarterback now. Stunt more. Again, I would find a way to, that's what I would say. I would shadow Justin Fields somehow, some way, whether it be Julian Love, somebody, but I would put a shadow on Justin Fields. Those are my answers.
So great minds think alike. Very similar. I swear to you, I have it right here on paper. It's very similar. Offense, I said it in a different way. I just want our offensive line to get back to run blocking.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to be the Tennessee Titans of old. Just run the damn ball.
Yeah.
I want to see us keep that pressure off Daniel. I want to see us use Saquon. Obviously, a modern Kafka offense and Dable offense. They're going to use misdirection. I love how every week they've been using a little bit more of Bellinger. And okay, great. I love that. The opportunities are there. Do it. I'd like to continue to see Daniel with the RPOs. And listen, that C opens up in the middle. He did it in the last play of the last game to get a first down, and then we ran the clock out. He did it early in this game where the C parted early on in the first quarter, and he ran. Yeah. He had open field. I mean, it was like, oh my God. You could see he's getting comfortable now. He's like seeing this offense is designed to do certain things. The defense will react. I'm going to have openings. I can run the ball because I got a set of wheels on me. I still want to see all that. Don't get me wrong. This isn't 1986, but I want to see that offensive line do what they did in the preseason. They were damn good at running the ball. Yeah. I don't know what the hell has happened. They have not been running the ball efficiently. Saquon had an amazing first game. He almost disappeared last game. This game, he had that one drive with that 136-yard run, and then they got away from it. I want to see the offensive line blocking. And then on defense, I want to see pressure. This Chicago team is very good at run blocking, like really good, but they're terrible at pass protection.
Yep.
And you have a very, very young quarterback in Justin Fields who is still not seen a lot. He's leading the league the last 2 years in pressures and sacks, or he's near the top.
Hits.
You can rattle him. He's tough as nails. He's taken a beating, but this is another winnable game. But they're 2-1 for a reason as well. So I want to see us get a little old school with this. And I think if they can keep it simple and focus on those two things, I think that's a recipe for a winning football game. And then man, 3-1. Can you imagine a rebuild that's 3-1?
And then, it's funny. So we're sitting here saying, all right, hey, great. 3-1. And then we've got Green Bay and London, right? And Steve, even though we all said that's a loss, I don't think any of us expected. I think we all expected Green Bay to take a step back and not be that good. They look like a good 2-1 team again. And that's going to be, look, I don't want to look ahead because we've got Chicago first, but man, imagine if we bounce back and beat Chicago and then go face Aaron Rodgers in London.
Well, he has two big rookie wide receivers. One was hurt this past Sunday, but the other one is becoming a safety blanket. He still has Randall Cobb, whatever. He's got those two running backs,
Yeah.
but he's doing what people weren't sure if he would be willing to do. Like, do I really feel like taking a young wide receiver core and turning them into, great wide receivers? Why does it always have to be me? Woe is me. Well, he's doing it with one of them right now.
Yep. Can you imagine having those two running backs behind Daniel Jones?
I just want to see our offensive line. I want to see the offensive game plan do what Wink tends to do that I said on defense. Let players work to their strengths.
Yes.
Andrew Thomas is like the best tackle in the NFC right now. I mean, I'm not worried about Andrew, but I don't know what's going on with Lewinsky. He was never a great pass protector. I was so excited that we signed him. He's been terrible, if I'm being honest. He really has. Feliciano, I mean, he was an upgrade with Nick Gates going down. He was an upgrade over the guys that we rolled in and out of the center position last year, but I feel like he's been very disappointing. I just want to see that offensive line come together the next 2 weeks.
It has to come together. It has to.
It all starts with the offensive line. I always say, man.
And did Azudu play last night?
Not really. I don't think so. In fact, I even read somewhere they said that it looks like that they stopped with the rotation and they just stuck with Bredesen the whole game, which is not the worst thing in the world, because at the end of the day, Azudu is like Shane Lemieux all over again. Like, really fun to watch him run block and pull. He's way more athletic than Lemieux ever was, but he's like a turnstile and pass pro. You know what? Let him sit and learn for a year. You got Bredesen, and Bredesen was playing okay, not great, but And I think Andrew Thomas can benefit from having somebody next to him that he gets used to until maybe eventually Lemieux comes back.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think about Sunday, Steve?
What's that?
What do you think about this week's game against Chicago?
So we're at home, correct?
Yes.
It's a 1:00 game. I saw. We tend to do better, like you said. I think this is going to be a really tough game because Chicago does have some talent. They do have some players on defense. They have an offensive line that can run block. I'm not worried about Wink, and I hope, of course, Leo comes back and will make it a hell of a lot easier. But I think it's going to be a similar game. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be close. I think it'll be about who wins a turnover battle. That's why I said I was so surprised there were no turnovers in this last game. In our 2 wins, we've seen turnovers. Chicago's playing on the road, so it's going to be harder for them. They don't seem like a team that comes together on the road yet. They're young, first-year head coach. I mean, man, we got to win this game, Carl. There's only so many games on the calendar that we can look at as fans and go, okay, but this should be a win.
But doesn't that scare the crap out of you?
Yeah, of course.
Right? I mean, it's Carolina all over again. It's the Houston game in a couple of weeks. It's just, for some reason, and maybe it'll be different down the road with this as this team develops more and they finish the rebuild, let's say. But we've gotten so used to, hey, this is a game we should win, and
You know what I'm looking forward to? Dayball has talked about, I saw an interview with him last week where he talked about, I think it was his weekly thing with Carl Banks and Bob Papa. He's actually an incredibly fiery coach. And he said, he's like, over the years, when he was offensive coordinator, especially, his career took a turn for the better when he learned to kind of tamper down and form relationships with players. But overall, if we see some of the off-season tapes and practices and preseason, like he's, that game that the first game where we won, where it was the anniversary of his grandmother dying, like he's a fiery guy, actually. He's very even keel in his interviews. He's, injuries are day to day. He likes to keep it even, but the truth is he's incredibly, I want to see if him and this coaching staff, especially Wink on defense, can fire these guys up. They need to light a fire under their ass, because we talked about in the beginning, they came out with no energy compared to Dallas, and Dallas came out looking for blood. And to me, that was one of the most disappointing things. You're at home, you have 3-0 on the line, and you guys dropped the goose egg when it comes to the energy piece of it.
Right.
I want to see those guys as coaches rally this team and remind them of who they are, what it is to be a Giant, what it is to play in front of this fan base, coming off a disappointing loss against a division rival. I want to see if this coaching staff not only puts the game plan together, fixes what they need to fix from a coaching perspective and teaching during the week, but then when we get to Sunday, get these guys fired up. And you know, we all like to think the players shouldn't need that, but some of them do.
Yeah, I agree. I think the way they come out, if they come out hot and fired up, like you said, I think we're in good shape for a good bounce back. This team. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Okay.
A lot of young captains, remember?
Yeah, and it's kind of where I'm going here. So I think we're going to get a good test of the psyche of this team.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's going to go a long way. So right now, I think they're all playing with confidence. All right. We said last week, Julian Love. I think Daniel Jones is playing with more confidence this year. All right. Saquon, obviously, he feels better. Okay. I think overall this team is very confident. This week is going to go a long way towards, you know, the psyche and the mindset of this team. Are they the scrappy bunch that we're hearing that they really are? Or, you know, first sign of pressure, they're just going to fold and then start putting fingers at each other. So and that's why I say this game is kind of scary to me in that sense. It's a game we all think they should win, even though Chicago is 2-1, and I don't see how, but okay, they're 2-1. So Chicago has a knack for being able to run the ball, and if they can run the ball Sunday like Dallas did, that scares me, because then that's going to open up the passing game. And that's going to open up Justin Fields to doing what Justin Fields is good at doing. So I don't want to call it a trap game, but I think there's a lot of red flags here that we need to be real careful about.
I'm less worried about our defense. I think Adoree's going to be Adoree with their number one wide receiver. I haven't done all my research yet, and you probably haven't either, looking at the roster and who's
right.
But I think Wink will get back to what he said in the preseason during OTAs and preseason. He preached and preached. It starts with the run. We all saw the videos. It starts with the run. You got to stop the run. I don't care what they say about offenses these days. You got to play. I think he's going to get back to that. Hopefully Leo's back. That would help a lot, but he may not. Hopefully Aaron Robinson's back. I mean, hopefully some of our other players that give us depth and help with that run. I'm more worried about the offense and the fact that it seems we have no wide receivers, because if that allows them to just key in on Daniel and Saquon, Daniel doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to. They still have, I believe, Robert Quinn, the pass rusher, is their number one pass rusher. So if he lines up over Evan Neal, what are they going to do to help Evan Neal?
Right.
I mean, he's better than DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence has done crap the last 2.5 seasons, and he just had a career high 3 sacks against us. So then you got a Robert Quinn coming in, and that guy's going to kill Evan Neal if they don't give him help. So,
So do you think Cooper Rush is better than Justin Fields?
I think Justin Fields has 10 times the more physical talent, was the better college quarterback. But I think at this stage in the career, Cooper Rush, six years of being a veteran, of learning, of sitting and watching NFL offenses and defenses. He's in an offense that he's very comfortable with in Dallas. They did a great job protecting him. He had an excellent running game, as we know, 160 some yards, whatever we gave up. I don't know that Justin Fields can play that game yet. I think he's got the more special talent, the special arm, the special ability to run. But he's been in a really bad offense so far.
He has. But you know what? Look, their offensive line, the Chicago offensive line is terrible. But I didn't think that highly of the Dallas offensive line last night. So I'm not
That's what I'm saying.
Right. So my point is I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here. I'm not. My gut tells me they win Sunday. Is that me just being a Giant fan? I don't know, but I think they win Sunday. But I don't think this is a slam dunk by any means. I just see similarities here. I honestly do. If all right, so maybe we get Leonard Marshall back. Do we get Leonard Marshall back at 50%?
You mean Leonard Williams?
Leonard Williams, I apologize. Leonard Williams, sorry.
Leonard Marshall, God bless him. I saw him at the Ring of Honor ceremony. He didn't look like he's about ready to step back on the field. But
So if we get Leonard Williams back, do we get him back at 50%? Do we get Leonard Williams back? How big of an impact does he make?
Yeah.
So there are, there's some. I see some areas of concern on both sides of the ball that were really exposed last night to me, and I'm very curious to see how they fix them, if they fix them, if they address them.
Let me give you one thing to be very positive about, and for everybody listening and watching. And I didn't realize this, Dallas. And I messaged you, you may remember, I was like, yeah, I'm not so impressed with the Dallas defense, blah, blah. I was wrong. Dallas has like the best defense in the NFC right now.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize the teams that they've held to like 19 points, 16, Tampa Bay. I mean, they've held 3 good teams. This defense, Diggs set the record last year with 11 turnovers. He's playing a different game now. He's playing close to the line. He's not giving the cushion to receivers that he gave last year. He's changed his game. Yesterday, his interception was actually his first interception of the year, but he's actually playing better corner than he did last year.
Right.
Their defense under Quinn is changed, and it's playing phenomenal. Last night, if you had told me that Micah Parsons was only going to have, the stats that he had, and they kept having to sit him because he's overcoming the flu or something, whatever. If you had told me Micah Parsons was going to play, we didn't even talk about this. If you had told me last night going into the game that here's what Micah Parsons' stat line is going to be, and he's not even going to play all the snaps, I would say, oh, yeah, we should win that game, because that's the only guy I'm really scared about. DeMarcus Lawrence is a shadow of himself. Diggs, who the hell, Listen, their defense is way better than I realized. I have to admit, and it's not just one guy; it's a whole team of guys. They're all swarming to the ball. Quinn is being creative the way Winkby is quick. So I don't know that we're going to have to. I kept saying Tennessee was the best defense we're going to face in the first 5 weeks, and I was wrong. As good as Tennessee's defense was, and those pass rushers, Dallas was even better. So I don't. Hopefully this week against Chicago, our offense will have a much easier time.
I hope so. I hope so. Like you said, we're definitely not facing the Dallas defense again. So hopefully that opens some things up. But we'll see,
But then when we play Philly eventually, they're very similar to Dallas.
Ooh, easy.
I don't even want to think about that.
Let's get through Chicago first.
Yeah.
So we'll see. What's your prediction for Sunday? Score.
21-17. Giants.
26-14 Giants.
I like it.
I don't know where I just got that from, but it just popped into my head, so I'm going to run with it. After I'm sitting here saying there's red flags, I think they address some of the flaws though. So 26-14 Giants.
Which means there's going to be a lot of field goals probably with a score of 26, which leads me, because it's just an odd number. I think there's you'd have to get a bunch of field goals in there, which leads me to one last topic before we get off. We didn't talk about specials. I think Graham Gano is our MVP.
Yes.
And one other thing we can take solace in is for the criticism of the coaching that we had, the one area that was very disappointing to me the first two games, I think most fans would agree, was our special teams. I mean, Gano was Gano, but our coverage, our kickoff, our punt. This game, McGahee, I really feel like they finally pulled it all together. It was error-free. They didn't kick it to the wrong guy. I mean, that one returner that Dallas has, that little kid, the rookie, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Multiple returns for touchdowns early on. They did kick it to him that one time, and he had a good return. But generally speaking, they kept it away from him. Our coverage unit seemed to do a good job. I was happy with our specials.
Agree on Gano. Overall, I thought the specials were better, except the one time we had a breakdown on specials was in the fourth quarter when the game was in the balance. So, all right. Am I nitpicking? Okay, maybe I am. But, it is what it is. So we'll see. I think there's still some room for improvement, but there's been a ton of improvement, to your point.
We're not playing a division rival here.
No.
It's Chicago, it's NFC, but we're playing at home. It's a daytime game. Come on, guys. Let's see that energy. I think it's, game plan all you want and being creative. Let's see the energy. That's what I'm looking for, man.
Just bring it.
I want to see them kick some, what.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to think of a good word there. Took us. Kicks and took us.
People know what we talk. People know. I want to see them kick some ass. Kick some ass. Do it.
Maybe they should have you out there firing them up because you're a little fired up. You got a little fire in your belly tonight.
Oh, yeah, man. You don't want to really see me fired up. Who the hell's that guy?
Steve, good job as always tonight, buddy.
Yours too, brother.
Always a pleasure, man. Look forward to talking to you during the week, and look forward to doing this with you again next week. Special show next week, Steve. Not gonna say anything just yet.
Go Giants.
Got it. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.